Before we dive in, a quick but important heads up. The information in this presentation is based on my personal experience, years of tutoring, and extensive research. It's the strategy that I and many of my students use to achieve top-tier scores, but it's not a magic bullet or a guarantee of a specific outcome. Your success on the LSAT will ultimately depend on your hard work and dedication. Also, some of the links in the description are affiliate links, which means if you decide to purchase one of these books, I may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. It's a great way to support the channel, and it allows me to keep making content like this for free. Now let's get into it. I will never forget the first time I opened an LSAT prep book. I flipped to a logic game section, and the first question was about 7 performers, let's call them acrobats, clowns, and fire eaters, who had to perform in a specific order based on a set of insane rules. Rule 1 was something like, if the acrobat performs 3rd, then the clown cannot perform 5th unless the fire eater performs 2nd. I just stared at the page. It felt like trying to read a foreign language, but a language designed by a madman. I took my first diagnostic test that weekend and got a 148. A 148. I felt my stomach drop. All my ambitions of getting into a top law school, of becoming a lawyer. It felt like it was all evaporating right there in my college dorm room. That feeling, that overwhelming sense of, I'm just not smart enough for this, is where most LSAT journeys end before they even begin. And it's based on a complete and total lie. The mistake I was making is the exact same mistake that I see thousands of aspiring law students make every single year. I went to the big-name bookstore, I walked to the test prep aisle, and I bought the thickest, most popular-looking book with LSAT written on the cover. It was probably a Kaplan book or a Princeton review. And that was my critical error. Let me be crystal clear. If you are using one of those generic, all-in-one big-box store prep books as your primary study tool, you are lighting your money on fire and actively sabotaging your chances of getting an elite score. Those books are designed to give you a shallow, surface-level overview of the test. They teach you ineffective tricks and shortcuts that fall apart the second you face a genuinely difficult question. They are designed to get you from a 145 to a 155. They are not designed to get you into the 170s. Getting a score that opens doors to the top 14 law schools and earns you massive scholarship money requires a completely different strategy. It requires using the weapons the pros use. And that is exactly why you clicked on this video. I'm going to cut through all the noise, all the marketing hype, and all the bad advice. I'm going to give you the blueprint. In this video, I am revealing the top 3 LSAT prep books, recommended by a consensus of 170+ scorers, elite tutors, and law school admissions experts. These are the books that the top 1% of test takers are using. But I'm not just going to give you a list. For each book, I'm going to break down why it is so ridiculously effective, who it's for, and most importantly, how to integrate it into your study plan to see the biggest, fastest score increase possible. We're going to cover the undisputed Bible for logic games that can take you from a terrified beginner to someone who actually looks forward to that section of the test. We'll talk about the one book that will fundamentally rewire how your brain approaches logical reasoning, the most important section on the exam. And finally, I'll reveal the surprisingly simple and often overlooked resource for reading comprehension that will train you to read faster, understand more deeply, and stop falling for those tempting trap answers. This isn't just a book review. This is the playbook. This is the exact system I would use if I had to start from scratch and score a 175 all over again. So grab a notebook and let's start with the book you absolutely must buy first, the foundation of any serious LSAT preparation, The LSAT Trainer by Mike Kim. If your LSAT journey is a quest to build a castle, this book is not a pile of bricks. It's the architectural blueprint, the geological survey of the land, and the master stonemason all rolled into one. Most people fail the LSAT not because they aren't smart, but because they treat it like a normal test. They think, I'll just do a bunch of practice problems and I'll get better. That is a fatal mistake. It's like trying to become a concert pianist by just randomly hitting keys and hoping you eventually play a masterpiece. It doesn't work. You need to learn the theory. You need to understand the music. The LSAT isn't a test of knowledge. It's a test of a very specific kind of thinking. And the LSAT Trainer is the single best resource on the planet for teaching you that way of thinking. Mike Kim's entire philosophy is built on a simple but profound idea. The LSAT is predictable. It's a standardized test, which means the people who write it are constrained by their own rules. They use the same logical patterns, the same argument structures, and the same traps over and over and over again. Your job isn't to be a genius. Your job is to become an expert at recognizing these patterns. This book is your pattern recognition training manual. Let's break down why it's so effective, starting with the scariest section for many, logical reasoning. Most prep books will give you a list of 20 different question types. Must be true, strengthen, weaken, flaw, necessary assumption, and so on. They treat them like separate species of animal. You learn to identify a strengthen question, and you apply the strengthen strategy. The problem is, when you're under the pressure of a 35-minute timer, your brain freezes. You're too busy trying to classify the question to actually think about the argument. Mike Kim flips this on its head. He argues that almost every logical reasoning question boils down to one central skill: understanding the relationship between the evidence and the conclusion. He teaches you to be absolutely ruthless in identifying the main point the author is trying to make, the conclusion, and the facts they're using to support it, the evidence. Everything else is just noise. Once you can do that, he introduces his most powerful concept, something he calls the loophole. A loophole is a way an argument's conclusion could be false, even if all the evidence is true. It's the hidden assumption, the logical gap. For example, take a simple argument. My friend Sarah studied for 300 hours for the LSAT, and she scored a 175. Therefore, if I study for 300 hours, I will also score a 175. The conclusion is, I will score a 175. The evidence is, Sarah studied 300 hours and got a 175. What's the loophole? What's the gap? Well, it's the assumption that you and Sarah are identical in every relevant way. Maybe Sarah is a naturally gifted test taker. Maybe she had a better tutor. Maybe you have severe test anxiety. The book trains you to automatically look for that gap. And here's the magic. Once you find that loophole, you can answer almost any question they throw at you. If the question asks you to strengthen the argument, you find an answer choice that closes the loophole. For example, studies show that for most students, natural aptitude has a minimal impact on LSAT scores compared to hours studied. If the question asks you to weaken the argument, you find an answer that blows the loophole wide open. For example, Sarah has a PhD in formal logic, giving her a significant advantage in understanding the test structure. This one simple, powerful technique transforms logical reasoning from a confusing mess of question types into a single unified task. You stop memorizing rules and start thinking like a lawyer, critically evaluating the strength of an argument. That is the core skill of the entire exam, and this book teaches it better than anyone. Now let's talk about logic games or analytical reasoning. This is the section that gives people nightmares. It looks like alien code. But again, the LSAT trainer's approach is about demystification. It's about building a system. Mike Kim shows you that there are really only a few basic types of games, primarily revolving around ordering and grouping. The key isn't to memorize every possible game setup. It's to master the fundamental tools of diagramming and making deductions. He teaches you how to create a clean, simple setup, your master diagram, that represents all the fixed rules of the game. Then, and this is the most important part, he teaches you how to connect the rules. Most students just write the rules down and then jump to the questions. This is slow and inefficient. The pros, the 170-plus scorers, spend more time up front making deductions. They see that Rule 1, if A is in, then B is out, and Rule 3, if C is in, then B is in, can be linked together. Using the contrapositive, Rule 3 also means if B is out, then C is out. So you can link them. If A is in, then B is out, and therefore C must also be out. Finding that one single deduction before you even look at a question can solve half the problem for you instantly. The LSAT trainer is filled with drills designed to make this kind of thinking second nature. It's not about just doing games. It's about breaking them down into their component skills. Diagramming, representing complex rules, making deductions, and drilling each one into oblivion until it's automatic. You go from being intimidated by the game to seeing it as a puzzle you have the keys to unlock. What about reading comprehension? The book's approach here is equally elegant. It moves you away from the high school method of reading every word and trying to memorize facts. That is a recipe for disaster on the LSAT. The passages are dense, boring, and designed to put you to sleep. Instead, Mike Kim teaches you to read for structure and purpose. He calls it creating a mental roadmap. You're not reading to become an expert on 14th century Mongolian pottery. You're reading to answer one question. What is the author trying to do with this passage? Are they comparing two theories? Are they shooting down an old idea and proposing a new one? Are they just explaining a complex phenomenon? By focusing on the big picture, on the author's main point and overall structure, you create a framework in your mind. Then when a question asks for a specific detail, you don't have to search the whole passage. You know exactly where to look based on your roadmap. Oh, that was in the paragraph where the author was giving an example to support their main theory. It turns you from a passive reader into an active hunter of information. So, who is this book for? It is for everyone starting their LSAT journey. I cannot be more clear about this. If you are scoring below a 165, this book is non-negotiable. It is your Bible. It will build the foundation upon which your entire score will rest. Even if you've been studying for a while and you've hit a plateau, it's almost certainly because you have a crack in your foundation. You're relying on tricks and memorization instead of a deep, fundamental understanding of the test's logic. Go back, read this book, do every single drill. I promise you the light bulbs will start going off. How do you use it? You don't just read it, you live in it. You get a pencil and you do every exercise in the margins. You follow the study schedules he provides at the beginning. He literally lays out a day-by-day plan for you to follow over several months. Treat it like a college course where the final exam determines your future career. Because it does. This book is your system. It's your philosophy. Teaches you the why behind every question. It gives you the confidence that comes from understanding the enemy, from knowing their playbook inside and out. But learning the theory, mastering the blueprint is only step one. A blueprint for a castle is worthless if you don't have any stones to build it with. A boxer who only shadowboxes will get destroyed in a real fight. You need to apply this theory to the real thing. You need to stress test your skills against actual, official LSAT questions, crafted by the test makers themselves. The LSAT trainer gives you the sword and the shield, but the next book on our list, that's the dragon you have to slay. And using it correctly is the single biggest difference between scoring in the 160s and breaking into the elite 170s. It's not some 1,000-page textbook written by a prep company. It's not a secret manual passed down by generations of law students. The dragon is the LSAT itself. I'm talking about the official LSAT prep tests, published by the Law School Admission Council, or LSAC, the very people who create and administer the test. And if you think, oh, practice tests, got it, you are missing the single most important point of your entire LSAT journey, and you're probably leaving 10 to 15 points on the table. See, here's the trap almost everyone falls into. They buy a book of 10 official prep tests. They take one. They score it. They see a 158. They feel okay, maybe a little disappointed. They look at the questions they got wrong, say, oh duh, the answer was B, and then they move on to the next test a few days later. They do this 10 times, their score barely moves, and they're left wondering why they aren't improving. They've just wasted the most valuable study resource on the planet. They faced the dragon 10 times, got burned 10 times, and learned absolutely nothing about how to fight a dragon. Using official LSAT prep tests correctly is not about taking tests. It's about performing an autopsy on them. It's about becoming a detective, and the test is your crime scene. You need to understand the mind of your adversary, the test maker. And you can't do that by just checking an answer key. This brings us to the most powerful study method ever devised for the LSAT. It's called the blind review method. Top scorers swear by it, elite tutors build their entire careers on it, and if you do it right, it will transform your score. Here's how it works. First, you take a full-time practice test. No distractions. Phone in another room. Timer on the screen. You simulate test day as closely as humanly possible. You fight the dragon in real time. When the timer goes off, you put your pencil down. And here's the crucial part. You do not score it. You close the book and walk away. This is incredibly difficult. Your brain will be screaming to know how you did. You have to resist. The next day you come back to the test fresh. You are now going to do the entire test again, but this time untimed. For every single question, yes, even the ones you were sure about, you reevaluate it from scratch. You work through the logic, you analyze the stimulus, you check every answer choice. Your goal is to arrive at an answer you are 100% confident is correct. You circle this new answer. If you originally answered A during the time test but now with unlimited time, you think it's C, you circle C. If you're still confident in A, you circle A again. You do this for all 100 or so questions. Only after you have completed this untimed blind review do you finally pull out the answer key. Now you're not just scoring one test, you're scoring two. You have your time score and you have your untimed blind review score. And the gap between those two scores tells a story. If your blind review score is significantly higher, Say a 172 compared to a 162 timed, that's fantastic news. It means you understand the logic of the LSAT. The knowledge is in your head. Your problem isn't a logic deficit. It's a timing and execution issue. You need to work on your speed and efficiency. But the real magic happens in the third step, the wrong answer journal. For every single question you got wrong in either your time version or your blind review version, you perform that autopsy. You open a notebook or a spreadsheet, and for each question, you write down 4 things. 1. Why did you choose the wrong answer? Be brutally honest. I misread the word unless I got tricked by the shell game in answer choice D. I rushed and didn't read the last sentence. You have to diagnose the disease before you can cure it. 2. Why is the right answer 100%, undeniably objectively correct? You need to articulate it in your own words. Don't just quote the book. Explain the logic. The conclusion of the argument is X. The correct answer, B, directly strengthens X by ruling out a major alternative cause, which is a classic strengthen pattern. You're building a library of mental models. 3. Why is every single wrong answer 100%, undeniably objectively wrong? This is just as important. For each of the 4 incorrect answer choices, you need to explain why it's garbage. Answer A is a reversal of the logic. Answer C is tempting, but it's out of scope. Answer E talks about most people, when the stimulus only talked about some people. This process trains your brain to spot the test maker's traps from a mile away. You'll start to see the patterns they use over and over again to trick you. And 4. What is the one sentence takeaway? What will you do differently next time you see a question like this? It could be always diagram conditional statements, no matter how simple they seem. Or when an answer choice seems too perfect, reread the question stem to make sure I didn't miss a keyword. This process is slow. It's grueling. A single test review might take you 8 to 10 hours, more than double the time it took to take the test. But this is where the learning happens. This is the difference between passive practice and active mastery. You are no longer just a test taker. You are a test decoder. You are learning the DNA of the LSAT. So, which books of prep tests should you buy? The most common are the 10 actual, official LSAT prep test books. There's one with tests 72 through 81, another with 62 through 71, and so on. My advice is to buy them all. Start with the older tests, say in the 50s and 60s, for your initial drilling and blind review. The logic is still 99% the same, but the style is a little different. As you get closer to your test date, you want to use the most recent tests, anything from Prep Test 80 onward, for your full-time mock exams, because they are the most representative of what you'll see on test day. You can buy these newer tests individually or in smaller books from LSAC. Remember, every single official prep test is a priceless resource, forged in the fires of the LSAC headquarters. To burn through one without a deep, methodical blind review is like finding a diamond and chucking it into the ocean. You've been given the dragon's blueprint. You have the schematics for its armor, the pattern of its flame. The LSAT trainer gave you the sword skills, but the prep tests, they teach you precisely where to strike. By combining the foundational strategies from a book like the LSAT Trainer with the rigorous forensic analysis of the official tests, you have a system for massive improvement. You have your strategy and you have your raw material for practice. But what if there's one part of the fight you just can't master? What if the logical reasoning section is your Achilles heel? Or what if, no matter how hard you try, you just can't wrap your head around those terrifying logic games? What if the dragon has a particularly nasty bite? Or a tail swipe you just can't seem to dodge? That's where our third and final book comes in. It's not a general guide. It's a specialized weapon, designed to hone in on a single point of failure and turn your greatest weakness into your most dominant strength. That weapon is the PowerScore LSAT Logical Reasoning Bible. And let me be crystal clear. This is not a book. This is a surgical toolkit. This is the specialist you see after your family doctor tells you they don't know what's wrong. For a huge percentage of LSAT takers, logical reasoning is the great plateau. It's the section where progress stalls, where you feel like you're just guessing between two very similar, very tempting answer choices. You can do 100 questions, review them, and feel like you haven't learned a single thing because you're relying on intuition. You're relying on what sounds right. And the LSAT is designed from the ground up to punish people who rely on what sounds right. The LSAT isn't a test of your gut feeling. It's a test of your ability to dissect formal logic. The PowerScore Logical Reasoning Bible is the only book on the market that truly treats it that way. It doesn't give you tips and tricks. It gives you a system. a complete, replicable, ironclad methodology for attacking every single one of the 13 different types of logical reasoning questions. Think about that. Most students just see a short paragraph and a question, but a student armed with the LR Bible sees the battlefield in high definition. They don't see a question, they see a weakened question with a causal conclusion, and they know instantly the 5 specific ways to attack that argument. They see an assumption question, and they immediately know to apply the assumption negation technique. It's like the difference between a street brawler and a grandmaster of chess. One sees a brawl. The other sees 1,000 possible moves and knows the optimal counter to every single one. So how does it do this? Starts by fundamentally rewiring your brain. The first thing it teaches you is to stop reading for content and start reading for structure. You learn to instantly identify the conclusion of any argument. That's step 1. Then, you identify the premises, the evidence the author is using to support that conclusion. And most importantly, you identify the gap. The unstated leap in logic between the evidence and the conclusion. Every single flawed argument on the LSAT has one. The LR Bible teaches you to see that gap with blinding clarity. It's like putting on a pair of X-ray glasses. Suddenly, the argument's skeletal structure, its weaknesses, its vulnerabilities are all laid bare. And then comes the secret weapon, the technique that separates the 170-plus scorers from everyone else. Prephrasing. Before you even glance at the 5 answer choices, the book trains you to articulate the answer in your own words. If it's a strengthen question, you'll say to yourself, okay, to strengthen this, I need a statement that closes the gap between the premise about rising sea levels and the conclusion about polar bear population decline. I'm looking for something that connects those 2 ideas. By forcing you to predict the answer, you immunize yourself against the LSAT's greatest traps. The cleverly worded, tempting, but ultimately incorrect answer choices. The test writers are masters of psychological manipulation. They know exactly what kind of wrong answer will sound right to a student who is unsure. But if you've already formulated the correct answer in your head, you won't be fooled. You'll scan the choices not with confusion, but with a sense of purpose, looking for the one that matches your prediction. It's a complete paradigm shift. You go from being a passive victim of the test to an active predator, hunting for the answer you already know is there. Let's get even more specific. Conditional reasoning. Those dreaded if-then statements that tie so many students in knots. The LR Bible doesn't just explain them. It gives you a flawless diagramming method that makes them simple. You learn the difference between a sufficient and a necessary condition. You learn how to form a contrapositive in your sleep. You learn how to link multiple conditional statements together into a long logical chain. What was once a source of terror becomes a source of easy points. You'll start to see a complex conditional reasoning question and you'll smile, because you know you have a bulletproof system to solve it in under 90 seconds. This is why experts and tutors recommend this book with an almost religious fervor. It's the definitive text. When a student comes to a top-tier tutor and says, "I'm stuck at a 165 and my weakness is logical reasoning," the first question out of that tutor's mouth will be, "Have you done the Logical Reasoning Bible?" And I don't mean read it. I mean, have you lived in it? Have you mastered it? Because that's what it takes. This is not a beach read. It's a dense, academic, and incredibly powerful tome. Now, it's crucial to understand who this book is for, and just as importantly, who it is not for. If you are just starting your LSAT journey, do not start here. This would be like trying to learn brain surgery on your first day of medical school. It's too much too soon. You need the foundational understanding and holistic approach of a book like the LSAT Trainer first. The LR Bible is for the student who has hit a wall. It's for the student who is scoring in the 160s and can't figure out how to get to the 170s. It's for the student who finishes a practice section, gets 5 questions wrong, and realizes 4 of them were flaw in the reasoning questions. It's a specialized tool for a specific problem. Think of it like building a house. The LSAT Trainer is your set of architectural blueprints. It gives you the overall vision and strategy. The official LSAT prep tests are your raw materials, the lumber, the bricks, the concrete you need to practice with. But the PowerScore Logical Reasoning Bible? That's your high-powered precision laser cutter. You don't use it to build the whole house, but when you need to make a perfect, intricate cut that everything else depends on, it is the only tool for the job. Together, these 3 books form a holy trinity of LSAT preparation. They complement each other perfectly. You use the LSAT Trainer to build your core skills and your study plan. You use the official prep tests as your sparring partners to test your skills against the real thing under timed conditions. and you use the PowerScore Bible as your specialist coach to drill down on your specific weaknesses until they become your strengths. There is no wasted overlap. Each one serves a unique and indispensable purpose. With these 3 books on your desk, you have everything you need to achieve a life-changing score on the LSAT. You have the strategy, you have the practice material, and you have the specialized weapon. There are no more excuses. The path to a top score is laid out right in front of you. But here's the billion-dollar question. Having the world's best tools is useless if you don't know how to use them. You can own a Ferrari, a state-of-the-art workshop, and the world's most advanced toolkit. But if you don't know the first thing about engineering, you're just a person with a garage full of expensive junk. So, how do you combine these 3 powerhouse books into a single cohesive study plan that actually works? How do you structure your weeks, your days, your very hours to squeeze every last point out of this material and avoid burnout? It's one thing to own the books. It's another thing entirely to execute a plan that turns them into a 175. So let's build that plan. Forget the score for a moment. Forget the clock. We're going to build your LSAT mind from the ground up, brick by brick. The strategy that consistently produces elite scores can be visualized as a pyramid. The pyramid of mastery. At the very bottom, the wide, unshakable base is untimed foundational drilling. The middle layer is timed sectional practice. And the very peak, the final ascent, is full-time practice exams. The single biggest mistake students make is starting at the top. They buy the books of tests and just start taking them over and over, banging their head against the same wall, wondering why their score is stuck. It's like trying to build a pyramid from the top down. It will always collapse. We start at the base. Untimed foundational drilling. This is where you live and breathe for the first 1 to 2 months, depending on your starting point. This is the domain of the PowerScore Bibles. During this phase, the clock is your enemy. You must remove it from the equation entirely. Your goal is not speed. Your goal is 100% accuracy and bulletproof understanding. You are not a test taker right now. You are an apprentice learning a craft. A surgeon doesn't learn by trying to perform a heart transplant in record time on day 1. They spend months, years learning every single vein, every muscle, every tool, slowly and methodically. That is what you are doing now. You are dissecting the LSAT. Here's how you use the Bibles to do it. For logical reasoning, you'll read a chapter in the Bible. Let's say it's on sufficient assumption questions. You read the theory, you understand the mechanics. Then you turn to a real prep test. Not the drills in the book, a real test you've bought from LSAC. You find only the sufficient assumption questions. You can use a service or a book that categorizes them for you. Now you do them, one by one, with no timer. For every single question, you will do the following, and this is non-negotiable. First, you solve it. Then, after you check the answer, you must articulate, out loud or on paper, precisely why the correct answer is undeniably, logically, mathematically correct. You must also articulate, with the same precision, why each of the 4 incorrect answers is fundamentally, irrevocably wrong. If you can't explain why B is wrong as convincingly as you can explain why D is right, you haven't mastered the question. You're just guessing. This process might take you 20 minutes for a single question at first. That's fine. That is the work. You are forging the neural pathways. For logic games, the process is similar but with a twist. You read a chapter in the Logic Games Bible on, say, basic linear games. Then you go to the prep test and you do only basic linear games. Untimed. Your goal is not just to get the questions right. Your goal is to create the most efficient, elegant, and inference-rich diagram possible. After you complete a game, you must look at an expert explanation. Look at the way they diagrammed it. Did they see a key inference you missed? Was their setup cleaner, faster? If it was, you must redo the entire game from scratch using their superior method. You will do this again and again until their advanced technique becomes your automatic habit. You are not just solving games. You are programming your mind with an arsenal of optimal setups. You do this for linear games, then grouping games, then the weird hybrid games until every type feels like a familiar friend. Reading comprehension is the beast. The approach here is about process, not just answers. You read a chapter in the RC Bible on, for example, identifying the author's primary purpose. Then you take a single passage from a prep test. Untimed. Your only job is to apply that specific skill. You will read the passage with a pencil in your hand, physically underlining sentences that reveal the author's attitude. You will bracket the main point of each paragraph. You will write a 1-sentence summary of the passage's overall function before you even look at the questions. You are training yourself to read actively, not passively. You're learning to see the hidden architecture behind the words. The same way a detective sees clues where others just see a room. Only after you have fully deconstructed the passage do you move to the questions. And again, for every question, you justify the right answer and disqualify the 4 wrong ones, pointing to specific lines in the text as your evidence. Now, as you do all of this, you're going to be making mistakes. Lots of them. And this is where we introduce your secret weapon, the single most powerful tool for score improvement, the wrong answer journal. This is not just a list of questions you got wrong. It is a deep analytical diary of your errors. For every single question you miss, or even one you got right but felt shaky on, you will log it in a spreadsheet or a notebook. Your entry must have 4 components. 1. The question's identity. Prep Test 81 Section 2 Question 18. 2. The category of your error. Be brutally honest. Was it a simple misread of a word? Did you misunderstand what the question was asking? Did you fall for a classic trap answer? Did you have a major gap in your conceptual understanding of, say, formal logic? 3. The aha moment. In your own words, write down the key insight you were missing. For example, I finally realized that unless introduces a necessary condition, and I had been treating it as sufficient. Or, the correct answer to this main point question wasn't the one that summarized the first paragraph. It was the one that synthesized the author's entire argument across all 4 paragraphs. 4. The correction protocol. Write a simple, actionable rule for the future. From now on, whenever I see the word unless, I will immediately rewrite the sentence as an if-then statement to avoid confusion. Or, for main point questions, I will always double-check my answer against the final paragraph to ensure it captures the full scope of the text. Your wrong answer journal becomes a living document, a personalized textbook written about your own brain. Reviewing it is more valuable than doing 100 new random questions. It transforms your mistakes from sources of frustration into the very fuel for your growth. It shows you the patterns you need to break. So, what does a week look like in this foundational phase? It's structured and focused. Monday, logical reasoning. Read 1 Bible chapter, then do 25 untimed LR questions applying that concept and logging every error. Tuesday, logic games. 1 Bible chapter, 4 or 5 untimed games of that type, redoing them until your diagrams are perfect. Wednesday, reading comprehension. 1 Bible chapter, for untimed passages, focusing on annotation and structure. Thursday. This is the most important day. No new material. You spend the entire day reviewing your wrong answer journal from the past 3 days. You redo the questions you got wrong from a blank slate. You internalize the lessons. This is where the learning actually sticks. Friday, a mixed untimed drill. Maybe 1 section of logic games just to start building that mental stamina. Saturday, rest. Or a very light review. Your brain needs time to consolidate everything you've learned. Burnout is the silent killer of high scores. You must schedule downtime. Sunday, repeat the cycle. You do this week after week. You master one concept, then the next. You're not worried about the score because you're not even scoring yourself. You are building the foundation. You are becoming the kind of person who can't be tricked by a flawed parallel reasoning question, who can diagram a bizarre logic game in their sleep, who can read a dense philosophy passage and instantly grasp its core argument. Only when you've gone through all the Bibles, when you feel that bedrock of understanding beneath your feet, only then are you ready to take the next step up the pyramid. Only then are you ready to invite the clock back into the room. And that's where everything changes. Because now, we have to take this perfect methodical understanding and learn how to do it fast. We have to learn how to perform under pressure without letting that carefully constructed foundation crack. And the single greatest threat to that foundation isn't a question you don't understand. It's a clock you can't ignore. The LSAT isn't just a test of your reasoning. It's a test of your reasoning under extreme, suffocating time pressure. You have, on average, 1 minute and 25 seconds per question. Think about that. By the time I finish this sentence, your time for one question would be almost up. You don't just have to be right, you have to be right now. And this is where many brilliant students, who have built a phenomenal base of understanding, completely fall apart. They know the theory but they can't execute. It's like knowing the physics of a perfect golf swing, but being unable to replicate it when you're standing on the first tee of the US Open with thousands of people watching. The pressure changes the entire equation. This is why our second expert recommendation isn't 1 book, but 3. It's a trilogy. Because to combat the pressure, you can't just have a general strategy. You need a specialized tactical strike plan for each unique section of the test. You need to move beyond the holistic, one-size-fits-all approach and into the realm of the specialist. And when it comes to specialization, the undisputed champions in the LSAT world are the PowerScore LSAT Bibles. Let's be clear. These are not beginner books. If the first book we discussed built your house, the PowerScore Bibles are the master electrician, the master plumber, and the master carpenter who come in to make that house a high-performance machine. They are dense, they are exhaustive, and they are unapologetically granular. We'll start with the Logical Reasoning Bible. This book's entire philosophy is built on a single powerful idea. True speed doesn't come from reading faster. It comes from thinking more efficiently. The book teaches you to stop seeing an LSAT question as a block of text and to start seeing it as a machine with moving parts. It gives you a diagnostic toolkit to instantly deconstruct the argument. You learn to identify the conclusion first, always. You learn to isolate the premises that support it. And most critically, you learn to pinpoint the microscopic gap between those premises and that conclusion. The unstated assumption, the logical leap, the fatal flaw. The book drills this into you with hundreds of examples. It categorizes every type of question you could possibly face: strengthen, weaken, assumption, flaw, inference, and gives you a precise, repeatable methodology for each. It's almost like learning a martial art. You drill the same block, the same parry, the same strike over and over until it's not something you think about doing, it's just something you do. When you see a question that says, which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? Your brain doesn't panic. It automatically initiates a protocol. You find the conclusion. You identify the core evidence. You ask yourself, how can I break the link between this specific evidence and this specific conclusion? You begin to predict the answer before you even read the choices. That's the source of speed. It's not about rushing. It's about an economy of motion, an efficiency of thought so profound that you're 5 steps ahead of the test itself. Then we move to what is, for many, the most terrifying part of the test, the logic games. The Logic Games Bible is, without exaggeration, a life-changing resource. It takes the section that feels like abstract, impossible voodoo and reveals it for what it is. A simple set of rules and patterns, repeated over and over in different disguises. Its power lies in its relentless focus on diagramming. The book provides a clear, consistent, and universally applicable system for setting up any game that comes your way. Linear games, grouping games, hybrid games, it doesn't matter. It gives you the blueprint. You learn how to represent a rule like Sarah cannot be seated next to Tom, with a simple ST block with a cross through it. You learn how to use not laws to mark where a variable can't go under a slot. You learn how to make deductions by combining rules. If A is before B, and B is before C, then A must be before C. It sounds simple, but the Bible builds these simple blocks into an unshakable fortress of logic. The goal is to get so good, so automatic with your diagramming, that the setup of the game becomes a 5-finger exercise. The magic moment for every student using this book is the first time they create a master diagram, fill in all the deductions, and realize they've answered 3 of the 5 questions before even looking at them. The game board tells you the answers. You've done the work up front. It transforms the logic game section from a source of panic and dread into a predictable, controllable, and often perfect scoring part of your LSAT. You stop fearing the games. You start hunting for them. Finally, we have the Reading Comprehension Bible. This is often the section students feel they can't improve on. You're either a fast reader or you're not, right? Wrong. The RC Bible demolishes that myth. It argues that the biggest mistake students make is reading for information. You read a passage about plate tectonics and you try to memorize the names of the plates. That is a losing strategy. The LSAT doesn't care if you know the facts. It cares if you understand the structure, the purpose, and the viewpoints within the passage. The PowerScore method, often referred to by the acronym ViewStamp, is a system of active strategic reading. It trains you to read for the core components of any passage: the different viewpoints presented, the structure of the argument, the author's tone, the main arguments, and the main point. You learn to physically mark up the passage, not by underlining random facts, but by identifying and labeling these structural elements. You circle transition words like however, or consequently. You bracket the main point of each paragraph. You put a star next to the author's opinion. Suddenly, you're not just a passive reader anymore. You are an analyst, actively mapping the passage as you read it. When you get to the questions, you don't have to hunt and peck through the text, wasting precious seconds. You know exactly where the author laid out their primary thesis. You know which paragraph contains the contrasting scientific theory. You've already created the map. The questions are just asking for directions. It's a profound shift that turns a soft, subjective skill into a hard, tactical one. So you see the pattern. The PowerScore Bibles are not about giving you tips and tricks. They are about installing a professional-grade operating system for each section of the LSAT. They take the foundational knowledge you've already built and weaponize it for speed and accuracy. They are the specialist toolkit that turns a knowledgeable student into a high-performing test taker. But even with all this, it's not enough. You can have the perfect foundation. You can have the most sophisticated, specialized strategies in the world. You can have the logical reasoning deconstruction methods, the flawless logic games diagrams, and the strategic reading comprehension maps. You can have all of it, and you can still walk into that test center and fail. Because there is one final, brutal, non-negotiable element of this process we haven't talked about. There is a final ingredient that separates the 165s from the 175s, the students who get into their dream schools from those who are left wondering what went wrong. It's the one thing that no theory or strategy book, no matter how brilliant, can ever truly give you. And that missing ingredient is battle-tested experience. It's the raw, unfiltered, and often brutal exposure to the real thing. It's the difference between reading a book about how to swim and actually jumping into the deep end of the pool. Because the LSAT isn't just a test of knowledge, it's a test of performance. It's a mental marathon where endurance, pacing, and the ability to think clearly under immense pressure are just as important as knowing the difference between a mistaken reversal and a mistaken negation. This brings us to our third and, in many ways, most important recommendation. And it's a bit of a cheat because it's not one book. It's a library. It is, without a single doubt, the most critical resource in your entire LSAT journey. I'm talking about the official LSAT prep tests, published by the Law School Admission Council, the very people who create the exam. Now, you might be thinking, okay, practice tests. Got it. Obvious. But you would be shocked at how many students misuse, misunderstand, and underestimate the power of these documents. They treat them like disposable worksheets, something to just burn through to see a score. This is a catastrophic mistake. These aren't just practice. They are the scripture. Every other book, every video, every tutor is simply a commentary on these original texts. Why are they so indispensable? Because the LSAT has a unique DNA. It's a psychometric exam crafted with the level of precision and subtlety that is almost impossible to replicate. The best third-party companies like PowerScore do an incredible job of deconstructing the test and creating realistic drills. But even they would tell you their questions are like a world-class tribute band. They can play the hits, they sound almost identical, but they're not the Beatles. The official prep tests, they are the Beatles. Every question, every stimulus, every trap answer in those books was written by the same people, using the same psychometric data, and calibrated with the same ruthless efficiency as the questions you will face on test day. Working with third-party material is like sparring with the partner who has studied the champion. Working with official prep tests is like sparring with the champion himself. You start to feel his rhythm, anticipate his moves, and understand the subtle feints he uses to knock you off balance. You develop an intuitive feel for the test's peculiar logic, its favorite tricks, and its underlying patterns. This is a level of familiarity that no amount of theoretical study can provide. Let me tell you about a student I once knew. We'll call her Jessica. Jessica was brilliant. She devoured the PowerScore Bibles. She could diagram the most complex logic game on paper. She could identify flaws in arguments in her sleep. In untimed drills using third-party materials, she was scoring near perfect. She believed she had mastered the test. Then she sat down to take her first full-timed official prep test. It was Prep Test 78, and it crushed her. She scored a 159. She was devastated. What went wrong? It wasn't her understanding of the concepts. It was the performance aspect. The pressure of the 35-minute clock felt different. The wording of the real LSAT questions felt slightly more dense, the trap answers just a little more tempting. The mental fatigue of completing 4 sections back-to-back was a wall she hadn't anticipated. Jessica had learned all the theory, but she hadn't trained for the actual event. Her experience is a cautionary tale. You must train with the real thing under real conditions. So, how do you use this library of official tests effectively? You don't just binge watch them. You implement a structured, phased approach. Phase 1. Foundational application. Early in your studies, after you've read a chapter in one of the Bibles, you find corresponding questions in the older prep tests, say tests 1 through 30. You do them untimed. The goal here is not speed. It's 100% accuracy. You are simply practicing the techniques you just learned, applying them to real questions without the pressure of the clock. This builds the foundational skill of how to do the problems correctly. Phase 2, building tempo. Once your untimed accuracy is consistently high, you move on to timed sections. You take an entire 35-minute section, one logic game section, one logical reasoning, one reading comp. This helps you internalize the rhythm of the test. How long does it take you to do the first 10 LR questions? What's your ideal pace for a 7-question logic game? You're building your muscle memory and your internal clock. Phase 3, the dress rehearsal. This is the final stage, usually in the last 1 to 2 months of your prep. You take full 4-section timed exams. You simulate test day conditions as closely as possible. You do it on a Saturday morning. You put your phone in another room. You use a digital proctor on your screen. You take only one 10-minute break after the second section. This builds the single most underrated skill for the LSAT: mental endurance. The ability to be as sharp on question 101 as you were on question 1 is what separates the good scores from the elite scores. But taking the test is only half the battle. The real learning, the place where you will see your score jump by 5, 7, even 10 points, is in what you do after the test is over. And this is through a process called blind review. This is the secret weapon of almost every single 170+ scorer. Here's how it works. After you finish a full-time prep test, you put it away. You don't score it. You don't look at the answers. You take a break, clear your head. Then you come back to the test with a different colored pen. You go through every single question again. For every question you were even 1% unsure about during the time test, you circle it. Then you redo those circled questions completely from scratch. This time you can take as long as you need. Your goal is to arrive at an answer you are 100% confident in. You commit to this new blind review answer. Only after you have done this for the entire test do you finally score it. And you score it twice. You score your time performance and you score your blind review performance. This process is pure gold. Why? Because it isolates your weaknesses with surgical precision. Tells you exactly why you got a question wrong. There are only 2 possibilities. Possibility 1, you got the question wrong during the time test, but you got it right during blind review. What does this tell you? It tells you that you actually understand the underlying concept. The mistake wasn't due to a knowledge gap. It was a performance error. A misread, a careless mistake, a time pressure-induced panic. This is a timing and strategy problem to solve. Possibility 2, you got the question wrong during the time test. And you still got it wrong during blind review, even with unlimited time. This is the red flag. This tells you there is a fundamental gap in your understanding. You don't get the concept. This isn't a timing problem. It's a knowledge problem. And now you know exactly what you need to do. You take that specific question and you go back to your PowerScore Bibles. You find the chapter that covers that concept, whether it's a specific type of necessary assumption question or a particular setup for a logic game, and you reread it, you redrill it until you master it. This feedback loop, test, blind review, targeted study, is the engine of score improvement. It turns mindless grinding into intelligent, focused practice. You're no longer just throwing darts in the dark. You're a scientist, diagnosing a problem and implementing a precise solution. Every prep test becomes a deep learning experience, not just a measure of your performance. So our third book recommendation isn't a book at all. It's the entire collection of official LSAT prep tests. They are your sparring partner, your diagnostic tool, and your roadmap to success. The PowerScore Bibles give you the theory, the strategies, the blueprints for how to attack the test. But the prep tests are the test itself. They are the arena where you apply that theory, hone those strategies, and forge yourself into a student who doesn't just understand the LSAT, but can perform on command when it matters most. Combining the strategic brilliance of the Bibles with the authentic, rigorous practice of the official tests is the 1-2 punch that has produced elite scores for decades. It's the proven path. But a path is useless if you don't know how to walk it. Owning the best golf clubs in the world doesn't make you Tiger Woods. Possessing the sharpest knives doesn't make you Gordon Ramsay. And having the PowerScore Bibles and the official prep test sitting on your desk doesn't guarantee you a 170. The secret, the real magic, isn't in the books themselves. It's in the system you use to master them. It's in the blueprint. And that is what separates the people who dream about a top score from the people who actually get one. So let's build that blueprint right now, piece by piece. Think of your LSAT journey in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the foundation. Phase 2 is the bridge. And Phase 3 is the gauntlet. Ignore this progression at your own peril. So many aspiring law students get this wrong. They buy the books, rip open a practice test, set a timer for 35 minutes, and get absolutely demolished. They score a 145, their confidence shatters, and they conclude they're just not smart enough for law school. That's not a failure of intelligence. It's a failure of strategy. It's like trying to sprint a marathon without ever having run a single mile. You must build your capacity first. So phase 1, the foundation. In this phase, the clock is your enemy. Banish it. Hide it. Forget it exists. Your only goal here is 100% accuracy. You will take the PowerScore Bible for a single section, let's say logical reasoning, and you will live in it. You will read a chapter, say on assumption questions. You will absorb the methodology, the diagramming techniques, the common traps. Then you will turn to the practice drills in that chapter. You will do them slowly, deliberately. You are not trying to answer the questions. You are trying to dissect them. For every single question, you must be able to articulate out loud precisely why the correct answer is undeniably correct and why the 4 incorrect answers are fundamentally, irredeemably flawed. If you can't, you haven't mastered the concept. You don't move on. This is not about speed. This is about depth. You are an architect laying the foundation for a skyscraper. You don't rush this process. You don't cut corners. You ensure every single piece of rebar is perfectly placed. Every ounce of concrete is flawlessly mixed. Because if the foundation is weak, the entire structure will collapse under pressure. Your LSAT score is that skyscraper. The pressure is test day. During this phase, which might take weeks or even a month, you will work through all 3 PowerScore Bibles in this manner. Untimed, methodical, obsessed with the why. You are forging the neural pathways of elite-level reasoning. You are teaching your brain to see the test not as a series of questions, but as a series of patterns. By the end of phase 1, you won't be fast, but you will be lethal. You'll have the knowledge. Now we need to build the skill. That brings us to phase 2, the bridge. This is where we reintroduce the clock, but not as a tyrant. We introduce it as a training partner. You've built the foundational knowledge. Now it's time to start applying it under controlled pressure. You'll now turn to your books of official LSAT prep tests. But you are not doing full-time tests yet. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, you will do individual time sections. You'll sit down and do just one 35-minute logical reasoning section. The next day, maybe a 35-minute reading comprehension section. You are building the bridge from pure, untimed accuracy to full test stamina. The goal here is to begin internalizing the rhythm of the test. How does 35 minutes feel? Where do you naturally slow down? Which question types start to trip you up when the pressure is on? This phase is all about data collection. You're like a scientist running controlled experiments. You're isolating a single variable, one section, and seeing how you perform under pressure. You're not worried about the overall score yet. You're focused on your performance within that 35-minute window. You'll start to notice patterns. Wow, I always get bogged down on parallel reasoning questions when I'm under the gun. Or, I'm not finishing the last reading comprehension passage. This is invaluable data. This is the feedback you need to go back to your Bibles, review the relevant chapters, and shore up those specific weaknesses. You'll oscillate between the prep tests and the Bibles, using one to diagnose and the other to cure. You'll stay in phase 2 until you're consistently completing sections within the time limit, and your accuracy is holding steady. You're getting comfortable with the pressure. You're ready for the main event. Finally, we enter phase 3, the gauntlet. This is where it all comes together. This is where you forge yourself into a test-taking machine. At this stage, typically the final 4 to 6 weeks before your official exam, you will be taking full-length timed practice tests. And you must replicate test day conditions with psychotic devotion. This means you take the test at the same time of day as your actual LSAT. You use a digital timer that looks like the one on the official interface. You do 4 time sections back-to-back, with only one 10-minute break after the second section. No phone. No distractions. No getting up for a snack. You are simulating the mental marathon of the LSAT. Taking the test is only half the battle. The real growth, the score jumps, happens in what comes after, the review. This is the single most important part of your entire study process. A practice test that isn't reviewed in excruciating detail is a wasted 4 hours. Most people finish a test, see their score, feel either good or bad about it, and move on. This is a catastrophic mistake. Top scorers do something different. For every single question you got wrong, and for every question you flagged or were even slightly unsure about, you must perform a deep dive autopsy. You need to understand the anatomy of your error. And this is where you deploy your secret weapon, the wrong answer journal. This isn't just a list of questions you missed. It's a diagnostic tool. For each error, you will write down 4 things. First, a simple identification of the question. Prep Test 78, Section 2, Question 14. Second, why did you choose the wrong answer? Be brutally honest. I was rushing and misread the stimulus. I fell for the attractive-looking trap answer in choice B because it used similar language to the passage. I completely forgot the rule for negating a conditional statement. Third, why is the correct answer correct? In your own words, explain the logic. Don't just copy the explanation. Reteach the concept to yourself. The correct answer, D, is correct because it directly addresses the logical gap between the premise about correlation and the conclusion about causation. And fourth, and most importantly, what is your takeaway? What is the one concrete rule or strategy you will implement to avoid making this specific mistake ever again? From now on, whenever I see a causal conclusion, I will actively hunt for an answer choice that rules out an alternative cause. This process is arduous. It's time-consuming. Reviewing a single test might take you longer than taking it. But this is where the magic happens. Your wrong answer journal becomes a personalized textbook of your own weaknesses. By forcing yourself to articulate your mistakes and create concrete rules to fix them, you are systematically eliminating your blind spots. You are turning every error into a point-gaining opportunity. The Bibles gave you the general theory of the LSAT. Your wrong answer journal gives you the specific theory of you, how you uniquely fail and how you can uniquely succeed. This combination of full test simulation in the gauntlet and meticulous targeted review through your journal is the final step. It's what turns a 165 score into a 175 score. It's how you walk onto the battlefield on test day not hoping you'll do well, but knowing you've already faced and conquered every trick the test can throw at you. You've run the gauntlet a dozen times. The real thing is just one more victory lap. This 3-phase system, foundation, bridge, gauntlet, powered by the PowerScore Bibles, the official prep tests, and your own wrong answer journal, is the most reliable battle-tested method for achieving an elite LSAT score. It's a system built not on tricks or shortcuts, but on deep fundamental mastery. But even with this perfect blueprint, this ironclad plan, there is a silent killer that derails 90% of students on this path. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's not a failure to study. It's something far more subtle, a hidden enemy that operates in the shadows of your own mind, sabotaging your progress when you least expect it. In the next part, we're going to drag this enemy into the light, expose it for what it is, and give you the weapons to conquer it for good. This enemy has a name. It's not anxiety. It's not stress. Those are just the symptoms. The enemy itself is a single, terrifying thought that poisons everything you do. It's the belief that the LSAT is not just a test, but a verdict. A final binding judgment on your intelligence, your worth, and your future. We're going to call this enemy the verdict. It's the voice in the back of your head that whispers, if you can't get this, you're not smart enough for law school. You're not smart enough, period. And this single belief, this deep-seated fear of the verdict, is more destructive than any tricky logic game or dense reading comprehension passage the test could ever throw at you. It's the reason you procrastinate. You tell yourself you're tired, you're busy, you'll do it tomorrow. But the truth is, you're terrified. You're afraid to sit down and study because you're afraid to face the verdict. As long as you don't really try, you can protect yourself. If you fail, you can tell yourself, well, I didn't give it my all. You can blame the outcome on a lack of effort, not a lack of ability. It's a bulletproof shield for your ego, but it guarantees you'll never reach your potential. The verdict keeps you from even entering the arena. It's also the reason for your crippling perfectionism. You spend 45 minutes on a single logical reasoning question, reading it over and over again, convinced you're missing something. You refuse to move on, because to you, this isn't just one question out of 100. It's a trial. Getting it wrong doesn't just mean you lose a point. It means the jury is leaning towards guilty. It feels like a personal failure, a confirmation of your deepest fear. So you grind yourself into dust, sacrificing your time, your energy, and your sanity on the altar of getting every single question right, which paradoxically makes you score lower because you never finish the sections. And this is why you're obsessed with your practice test scores. That 3-digit number becomes the only thing that matters. A 165 makes you a king for a day. A 162 makes you want to crawl into a hole and give up entirely. You ride a volatile emotional roller coaster. where your entire sense of self-worth is dictated by a fluctuating number on a screen. Every dip feels catastrophic. You scour Reddit and online forums, comparing your score to anonymous strangers, feeding the beast of inadequacy. You're not studying to learn. You're studying for a fleeting hit of validation. The verdict has you chasing a number, not mastery. Here's the most insidious part. The verdict turns the very tools meant to help you into instruments of torture. You can have the PowerScore Bibles, the LSAT Trainer, the loophole, the holy trinity of LSAT Prep, sitting on your desk, and they will be useless. Worse, they will become weapons that this enemy uses against you. Every drill becomes a new opportunity to prove you're a failure. Every missed question in a chapter review isn't a learning opportunity. It's another piece of evidence for the prosecution. The books, which should be your allies, feel like they're mocking you, their pages filled with concepts that seem to come so easily to everyone else. Let me tell you about a student I once knew. We'll call her Anna. Anna was the perfect pre-law candidate on paper. 3.9 GPA from a top university, incredible extracurriculars, glowing recommendations. She bought all the right books. She created a beautiful color-coded study schedule. She was doing everything you're supposed to do. For the first month, her score went up. But then it hit a wall. A hard wall at 164. For 6 straight weeks she was stuck. Then her score started to drop. 162. 161. She started panicking. She studied more 10-12 hours a day. She abandoned her social life. She was exhausted, miserable, and her score kept falling. She came to me convinced that she had hit her intelligence ceiling. She believed with every fiber of her being that 164 was the absolute best her brain could do. She was ready to give up on her dream of attending a T14 law school. She was a victim of the verdict. She saw every practice test not as practice but as a final exam. Every wrong answer was a personal attack. She wasn't learning from her mistakes. She was being crushed by them. The problem wasn't the books. The problem wasn't her study plan. The problem was the invisible war she was fighting in her own mind. So we threw out her study schedule. We ignored the books for a week. And we focused exclusively on defeating the verdict. We armed her with 3 weapons. These are the same weapons I'm giving to you right now. Weapon number 1 is the data scientist mindset. You must fundamentally reframe your relationship with this test. From this moment forward, you are no longer a student trying to get a good grade. You are a data scientist conducting an experiment. The LSAT is your lab, and your brain is the system you are analyzing. Every single question, right or wrong, is simply a data point. A wrong answer is not a failure. It is not a judgment. It is a beautiful, pristine, incredibly valuable piece of data. It is a flashing red light that tells you exactly where a flaw in your system exists. A scientist doesn't get emotional when an experiment yields an unexpected result. They get curious. They say, "Interesting. Why did that happen?" They isolate the variable, analyze the process, and tweak the system. You must do the same. When you get a question wrong, your first thought should not be, "I'm so stupid." It should be, "Data point acquired. Let's analyze the breakdown in my logical process." This mindset emotionally detaches you from the outcome. It transforms your study sessions from a series of high-stakes trials into a fascinating process of discovery and optimization. You stop fearing your mistakes and start hunting for them, because you know they hold the keys to your improvement. Weapon number 2. The 2-minute triage. This is your weapon against the paralysis of perfectionism. When you are doing a time section, you are a surgeon in an emergency room, not a philosopher contemplating the meaning of life. You have to be ruthless with your time. On any given question, if you've spent 2 minutes on it and you are still fundamentally lost, you are to immediately disengage. You circle it, you make your most educated guess, and you move on without a shred of guilt. Your job is not to be a hero and solve every problem. Your job is to capture as many points as possible within the 35-minute window. You can't let one difficult question bleed out the time you need for 5 easier ones down the line. The real, deep learning doesn't happen under the pressure of the clock anyway. It happens during the review. This rule forces you to stay in motion, to trust your training, and to break the toxic cycle of perfectionism that's killing your score. And that brings us to weapon number 3, blind review. This is the ultimate weapon against score fixation. It's a technique that's been around for a while, but we're going to frame it as a mental warfare strategy. After you finish a timed practice test, you do not score it. I repeat, you do not score it. Instead, you put the answer key away, take a short break, and then you go back through the entire test. For every single question, especially the ones you guessed on or were even 1% unsure about, you rework it from scratch with no time limit. Force yourself to write out a justification for your new answer. I am choosing C because... Only after you have completed this untimed, thorough review of the entire test do you finally pull out the answer key. You will now have two sets of results, your timed score and your untimed/blind review score. The gap between those two numbers is the most important metric in your entire LSAT journey. It's not just a number, it's a roadmap. It shows you exactly how many points you're losing to time pressure, anxiety, or careless errors. It separates your conceptual understanding from your performance under pressure. This process shifts your entire focus from the outcome, the score, to the process of reasoning. Your reward is no longer the dopamine hit of a high number, but the satisfaction of truly understanding why an answer is right and why the others are wrong. You start to fall in love with the intellectual puzzle of the LSAT itself, and the verdict loses all of its power over you. With these three weapons, the data scientist mindset, the 2-minute triage, and blind review, you stop being a defendant on trial and you become the analyst in control. You drain the test of its emotional power and turn it into what it truly is: a series of predictable, learnable patterns. You are no longer fighting the test, you are disassembling it piece by piece. Now that you have the weapons to defeat the enemy within, there's one final secret. A master strategy that ties all three of these legendary books together, transforming them from separate guides into a single unstoppable system for LSAT domination. In the final part, we will build that system. This system is not a checklist. It's a phased strategic campaign. Think of it like training a special forces operator. You don't just hand them a rifle and a map on day one. You build them from the ground up, layer by layer, until they are an instinctive, adaptable, and lethal force. Your LSAT prep must be the same. Phase 1, the foundation. This is where you build the chassis, the core understanding of the entire machine. For this, you will use one book and one book only. Mike Kim's The LSAT Trainer. Do not touch the PowerScore Bibles. Do not even look at the loophole. Put them on a shelf and forget they exist for the first 4 to 8 weeks of your study. Why? Because the single biggest mistake students make is diving into the weeds of specific question types before they understand the fundamental nature of the test. It's like trying to learn advanced calculus before you've mastered basic algebra. You'll get confused, frustrated, and you'll build bad habits. The LSAT Trainer is your boot camp. Your mission is to read it from cover to cover, treating Mike Kim as your personal drill sergeant. Do every single drill he prescribes. When he tells you to read a stimulus and just identify the conclusion, you do it. When he gives you a logic game and tells you not to solve it but just to focus on the setup, you do it. This phase is not about speed. It is not about getting questions right. It is about rewiring your brain. You are learning to see the test not as a series of English questions, but as a series of formal logic puzzles disguised in conversational language. You are building the essential habits of an LSAT expert: ruthless attention to detail, a methodical pace, and an obsession with understanding the underlying structure of arguments. By the time you finish the LSAT Trainer, you won't be a master, but you will have a rock-solid foundation. You'll understand the mission, you'll know the terrain, and you'll speak the language of the LSAT. Now and only now are you ready for Phase 2, specialization and deep mastery. Your foundation is built. It's time to build the skyscraper. This is where you unleash the PowerScore Bibles and the loophole. We attack this section by section. Let's start with logic games. For this, your weapon is singular and devastating: the PowerScore Logic Games Bible. This is the gold standard for a reason. Your mission here is pure mechanical mastery. You will work through this book chapter by chapter, mastering every game type, every diagramming convention, every inference strategy. You will do the drills until you can set up a basic linear game in your sleep. You will learn the subtle differences between grouping games with a fixed number of players and those that are undefined. This is not about creativity. It's about building a repeatable, factory-like process. When you see a new game, there should be zero hesitation. You identify the game type, you deploy the correct diagram, you make the initial inferences, and you execute. The LG Bible is your playbook. Your job is to internalize it so completely that it becomes muscle memory. Next, Reading Comprehension. Again, you will turn to the PowerScore Reading Comprehension Bible. Many students think RC is a soft skill you can't really study for. They are dead wrong. The RC Bible deconstructs this section with scientific precision. It will teach you how to systematically map a passage, identifying the author's viewpoint, the structure of the argument, and the function of each paragraph. You will learn to pre-phrase answers and to identify the common traps the test makers lay for you, like extreme language or answers that are out of scope. Your goal is to transform from a passive reader into an active interrogator of the text. You're not reading for pleasure. You're reading for points. The RC Bible gives you the tactical framework to extract those points with maximum efficiency and accuracy. Now, for the main event, logical reasoning. This is the most important section of the test, and it's where our system becomes truly synergistic. Here you will use two books in tandem: the PowerScore Logical Reasoning Bible and Ellen Cassidy's The Loophole in LSAT Logical Reasoning. This is the 1-2 punch that will make you unstoppable. Here's how it works. You start with the LR Bible. It is the most comprehensive encyclopedia of logical reasoning question types ever written. You will use it to learn the technical schematics of the test. You'll go through a chapter, for example, on sufficient assumption questions. You'll learn the formal definition, the indicator words, and the classic logical structures. You'll do the drills. You will understand the mechanics inside and out. But then you add the secret weapon. After you've mastered the PowerScore approach to a question type, you turn to the loophole. Ellen Cassidy doesn't just teach you the mechanics. She teaches you the philosophy. She teaches you to stop looking at the stimulus as a formal logic problem and start looking at it as a flawed, broken conversation. Her translation drill will force you to translate the often dense, academic language of the LSAT into simple conversational terms. Her concept of powerful versus provable answers provides a revolutionary framework for understanding what kind of answer you're even looking for in the first place. So your process for LR is this: learn the technical mechanics from PowerScore. Then layer on the deep, intuitive understanding from the loophole. PowerScore gives you the blueprint of the bomb. The loophole teaches you how to think like the person who built it. When you combine the rigorous categorical approach of the Bibles with the flexible language-focused strategy of the loophole, you develop a dual-pronged attack that no LSAT question can withstand. You can dissect it logically with PowerScore's tools, and you can deconstruct it linguistically with Cassidy's methods. Finally, we arrive at Phase 3: Integration and Full-Scale War. Knowledge is useless without application under pressure. This phase, which should make up the final 1 to 2 months of your prep, is all about taking your specialized skills and forging them into a weapon in the fires of timed practice. Your ammunition will be official LSAT prep tests, accessed through the Law School Admission Council's Law Hub. Do not use unofficial tests. You've trained with the best materials. Now you must fight on the real battlefield. You will take 1 to 2 full-time practice tests per week. But taking the test is only 20% of the work. The other 80% is the secret to a 170+ score. The blind review. After you finish a test, you do not score it. Instead, you go back through the entire test section by section. For every single question you were even slightly unsure of, you rework it, untimed. You force yourself to come to a new, confident answer. Only after you have reviewed every question you flagged do you score your test. Then the real work begins. For every question you got wrong and every question you got right but were unsure of, you create an error log. In this log, you must answer 3 questions referencing your books. 1. Why was my original answer wrong? 2. Why is the correct answer undeniably 100% correct? And 3. What specific concept or strategy from my books could have prevented this mistake? For example, you might write, Question 17, Prep Test 88. I chose answer B, but the correct answer was D. My answer was wrong because I fell for a mistaken reversal, a concept explained on page 152 of the LR Bible. The correct answer, D, is correct because it perfectly states the contrapositive of the main principle. I could have avoided this by applying the loophole's translation drill to simplify the stimulus, which would have made the flawed conditional logic more obvious. Do you see what's happening? Your books are no longer just textbooks. They are now your analytical arsenal. They are the reference library for your mistakes. This process transforms practice tests from a passive measure of your score into an active tool for improvement. You are not just seeing what you got wrong, you are systematically diagnosing why you got it wrong and installing the specific knowledge needed to fix it permanently. This 3-phase system, foundation with the LSAT trainer, specialization with the PowerScore Bibles and the loophole, and integration with timed practice and blind review, is the path. It takes the best resources on the planet and combines them into an integrated logical progression that builds you from the ground up into the exact kind of thinker the LSAT is designed to reward. This isn't just a study plan. It is a blueprint for cognitive transformation. It's a demanding, rigorous path that requires discipline and commitment. But it is a proven path. The tools are here. The strategy is clear. The only remaining variable is you. It's time to stop just wanting a high score and start building the skills that earn it. Go build your future.